Aside from all that rain coming down, we know what caused all that flooding on I-70 last night. The contractor of the Central 70 project, KUSA, says it was an error in the drainage pump system, and that's what left drivers needing to be rescued. The error kept the pumps from turning on at that part of the interstate. Workers had to turn the pumps on manually, which then helped the area drain. The KUSA superintendent says the drainage system isn't complete, but they're confident that it can and should work properly if it needs to handle more rain. Denver Fire says they had to rescue 29 people around Denver, but no one was hurt. Denver police closed it due to the flooding last night, the interstate closing in both directions between York and Steele.
It was quite the scene in so many ways. In other parts of Denver, the city says flood designs worked better. 9 News reporter Cole Sullivan is live in City Park. And Cole, the streets and neighborhood in that area have had issues for years during those heavy rains. About 5 years ago, the city of Denver wanted to try something different.
So they redesigned the City Park golf course, Kim, and they say that redesign worked. It's a little wet here on the rough today, a little bit soggy, but the sun's drying out much of it. You would not have known this design worked if you were driving down Colorado around 23rd last night. We have some video from some drivers there showing inches of water on the roadways. Believe it or not, the city's engineering manager says this is what it's supposed to look like when there's this much water. The streets are actually part of the stormwater plan. Also part of that stormwater plan, the redesign of this golf course. A retention pond between the 11th and 13th holes holds feet of water that the city says otherwise might have flooded homes.
I envision all that water that it held would have been pushed into those streets, into those neighborhoods. And so having that amount of water in the golf course means we had just that much less water downhill in those neighborhoods, which is a really good thing.
He says it looked like the pond on the golf course held about 8 to 10 feet of water from the storm last night, but it drained fast. Today, the course said all that water had minimal impact out here. The back 9 of the golf course is currently closed, and they're not letting folks drive golf carts on the wet grass. But they say otherwise, besides a little bit of debris, this stormwater plan, at least in this part of the city, worked as designed.
Yeah, it was quite a test when you consider how much rain, and we're going to continue to talk about that through the course of 4 o'clock at 9 News today. All right, Cole, thanks. Of course, the flooding yesterday certainly brought back memories from several similar events, like September of 2002. You might remember I-25 from Santa Fe all the way down to Hampton, shut down for hours because of flooding there.
It was Friday the 13th. Many people hung on to that when a downpour left everyone with nowhere to go. The flooding so bad, the dive teams needed to rescue people from the highway, and the water temperatures were between 45 and 55 degrees. Fortunately, no one was seriously hurt, but it was quite the event.
So as we see today, a lot of blue skies, very few clouds, a very pleasant day today. So those storms that we saw a couple times over the weekend don't seem to be forming right now, but Danielle knows what's going on. She's got an eye on things for us. Hi, Danielle.
Hello. Not nearly as wild this afternoon for us compared to the weekend. I know we can all kind of take a big sigh of relief because, wow, all of that water just stacking up here across parts of the Denver metro area. Incredibly impressive and so nice to see that no one was hurt with all of that flash flooding. I want to show you a map so you can really get a good idea. It wasn't just across the Denver metro area, but even up to the north around Longmont, through Broomfield, Westminster, folks out there, even in and around the foothills, looking at an inch or two. Again, that bullseye where we saw most of the problem areas, however, was right there around I-225, I-70, where about 2 inches of rain fell in less than 30 minutes time through Commerce City and even parts of Park Hill. As far as the rainfall totals go, about 2.5 inches stacking up in Westminster, about 2 for Federal Heights. You can even see out toward the Denver Zoo, close to about 2 inches of rainfall. And again, all of this within about 30 minutes to an hour's time. So it's really nice to see some sunshine and some relatively quiet conditions out there. I still am tracking a few scattered thunderstorms, especially across the southern tier of Colorado with a bit of lightning. But here for the Front Range, I've just been monitoring a few cells crossing Douglas and Elbert County, nothing severe. And with all the sunshine, temperatures did warm into the lower 90s. We're sitting right there at 90 degrees out at DIA, a little warmer in Greeley as well as Sterling, some 70s and 80s up into the high country. And then the heat is on as we look ahead toward the rest of the work week. We're pretty much turning off the monsoon flow for the next couple of days, so that means the sunshine is back. It will be relatively dry, but when will we see a comeback for those thunderstorms? I have those answers, guys, coming up in a few minutes.
All right, thanks.
Today, President Biden and the First Lady toured areas in eastern Kentucky hit hard by those recent deadly floods.
Yeah, they met with the Kentucky governor, Andy Beshear, and his wife as well. Right now, thousands are still displaced. Thousands more still have no power or running water. Yesterday, the president freed up more disaster assistance for Kentucky. This after initially approving the disaster declaration back on July 29th.
We're not leaving. As long as it takes, we're going to be here. And we are committed, this absolute 100% coverage of costs for the next 3 months, it matters. What people don't realize, all those piles of debris and everything else, it takes us a lot of time, a lot of money to get that out of the way.
At least 38 people are known to have died since the deluge last month, which dropped 8 to 10.5 inches of rain over just 48 hours.
2 more life sentences today for a father and son who shot and killed a man taking a run through a neighborhood. Ahmaud Arbery was a black man who was killed in February of 2020. 3 white men killed him. They were convicted of hate crimes. Travis and Greg McMichael were sentenced to 2 more additional terms. A friend who was with them, William Roddy Bryan, was also given an additional 35 years. Attorneys for the men requested that they serve their time in state prison, not federal prison, because of the hundreds of threats they've received. The Arbery family talked about their loss.
Argued that I was more anxious to see was he going to address the parents of Ahmaud and also to the family of Ahmaud. And Travis chose not to even say that he was sorry. So he is. So it really showed the court, it showed the family, it showed everybody who's been saying just for Ahmaud what kind of people really took my son away.
The McMichaels and Bryan are already serving life sentences for murder on state charges in the killing of Ahmaud Arbery.
More stories are coming out about the infamous photo op of then-President Trump that was taken at Lafayette Square during the Black Lives Matter protests in June of 2020. In an excerpt of an upcoming book published in The New Yorker, it says that shortly after that picture was taken, the former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Mark Milley, wrote a letter, one that was never delivered, though. But in it, he said he would be stepping down as the chairman of the Joint Chiefs because he could no longer support or execute the president's orders. Milley ultimately, though, stayed in his position, reportedly telling colleagues that he would try to fight Trump from the inside. He later publicly apologized for being a part of that photo op in Lafayette Square.
The Federal Trade Commission fined an apparel company for falsely claiming their clothing is American-made. The FTC says the company Lions Not Sheep Products, LLC, removed tags showing apparel was made in China or another country and replaced them with fake ones like these that said made in the USA. The FTC slapped the company's owner with a $211,000 fine. He was also ordered to stop making bogus claims and to come clean about the foreign production.
There's a source saying that the January 6th Select Committee, now investigating the riot at the Capitol, now has its hands on about 2 years of text messages that were sent and received by Alex Jones. The messages handed over by the attorney who represented 2 Sandy Hook parents in that civil trial against Jones last week. It was during the trial last week the attorney revealed that one of Jones' lawyers had accidentally sent him those 2 years full of text messages. Jones was on restricted U.S. Capitol grounds on the 6th of January, riling up protesters, but did not enter the building itself.
The FDA has approved a medication that works to treat a newly recognized type of breast cancer called HER2-low. It's for women with advanced breast cancer that can't be surgically removed or is spread to other parts of the body. In clinical trials, HER2 nearly doubled the window of time that women could live with their cancer and not get worse. The FDA says cancer patients are eligible for HER2 if their cancer has spread beyond the breast and they've received standard chemotherapy, or if their cancer returned within 6 months of completing chemo. According to the FDA, more than 287,000 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer in the U.S. this year. Also in health news, the CDC sent a team to New York to investigate a case of polio. Late last month, local health leaders announced an adult resident who is unvaccinated had contracted polio. New York's Department of Health says it's the first case in the U.S. since 2013. State health officials detected the virus in wastewater samples in June. The group will also help with vaccinations in the area.
Some sad news today for so many fans. Singer and actress Olivia Newton-John has died. She was 73 years old.
According to a statement by her husband, the Australian singer died at her Southern California ranch this morning. Over the last 30 years, she had been treated for breast cancer and other forms of cancer, most recently at the base of her spine. The four-time Grammy winner rose to fame in 1978 after starring opposite John Travolta in the mega-popular movie Grease. A look back at a career that spanned decades, including more than 100 million albums for her. That's coming up at 4:30. John Travolta posted a message to Olivia Newton-John on his Instagram. He said a few things about his dearest Olivia and added, "I love you so much. Yours from the first moment I saw you and forever. You're Danny, you're John."
We are heading for fall, of course, even though it's been hot lately, but that means that college football is on the horizon.
And the CU Buffs are getting ready with some training camp this week. Ariel Ursuto has that coming up. A Hollywood star now under investigation after a fiery car crash. I'll tell you more about that coming up.
Another live look outside the Boulder Flatirons on a beautiful Monday afternoon. Of course, Danielle's got a look at what is coming our way the rest of this week and even in that weekend in the offing. Coming up just a couple minutes.